What does the best 17 look like for the Dragons in 2025? The zero tackle team, we've made our call. We're going to break it down for you in this video. But before we do that, subscribe to the YouTube channel if you haven't already. We've got plenty of NRL content coming out for you this year. Now, with all that being said, 2025 Dragons, best 17. Before we get into it, make sure you're set for the new season with Zero Tackle's 2025 NRL Season Guide. The comprehensive season guide features over 120 pages of dedicated, detailed footy content ahead of the 2025 season, with profiles of every single player, team previews, fixtures, recruitment reports, and much, much more. Best of all, it's free. Get it now from zerotackle.com. And here to break down to the best 17 for the Dragons, Darren Park. And Darren, the predictions on the Dragons season vary pretty wildly. There's a lot of question marks to their 17.
Yeah, anywhere from finalists to wooden spooner. It's been all over the place in that sense. Big changes. Obviously, they lose Ben Hunt. 30 try assists last year. Zach Lomax also goes, but you get Damien Cook, they get Clint Gutherson, they come in as leaders. They've had an immediate impact. They seem to be fitting into the culture really well. And there's a few key pillars that are still there. So, yeah, I'd imagine they'd be competitive. It's just how far that takes them.
Yep. All right. Well, let's get to the best 17. All right, so starting with the backs, and the number 1 jersey goes to Clint Gutherson.
Yeah, it comes across. There was some suggestion that he would have been shuffled out a little bit at his former club into a different role, but a really important signing for them as experience, leadership, desire to win games, that competitiveness, which is almost unmatched. It does complicate things a little bit. Obviously, Sloan had held that role for a long time, but he is adaptable enough to move. Corey Allen also in the mix in the event of injury, but certainly a plus to get him across.
Yep. Speaking of Sloan, we've moved him into a winger role with Christian Tuipulotu.
Yeah, Sloan more than good enough to adapt to the role and stay in the side and certainly have an impact. Tuipulotu, probably a little bit less secure that spot. There are a few in the mix. You look at Ravalawa, Corey Allen, who we mentioned as well, Finau also in the mix. But we have gone down this path at least to start, but there is a bit more depth than they have in a few other areas.
Yep. And the centres, Moses Sully and Valentine Holmes.
These are pretty easy calls. Valentine Holmes certainly a walk-up start. Extremely important player to them and partners well with the other powerhouse next to him there in Sully. So, yeah, both pretty easy calls. We've mentioned Allen and Figo a few times as backups already, and they'll certainly be in the mix for that too.
Yep. And then the halves combination, so Kyle Flanagan and Lachlan Ilias.
Yeah, this is the change in dynamic post Ben Hunt, so it obviously mixes things up a little bit. You look at Flanagan, who did play a key role last season, and his absence towards the back end of the year played a pretty important role in them missing the final, so don't have a stack of depth behind him. Ilias comes across from the Bunnies. We mentioned him a stack in the potential player transfer discussions that we were having. I guess the question that has been raised is, are they too similar, those two players? But I think they've got enough smarts and a bit of experience to make that work and be valuable for their side.
All right, looking at the forwards now. So starting with the props. So we'll go Francis Molo and Sealy.
Yeah, and Molo, the interesting one. Of course, we've named him in there with a bit of an asterisk. Requested a transfer. He was denied. He's on leave. No guarantee he plays. But if he does put his hand up, then definitely in the best 17. Jack de Balen in the lock position, and then Sealy. Now, he should be joined or should be in that front row. But there is a world where that's not necessarily the case, where de Balen could be shuffled into prop, and then they could bring in a Toby Couchman, who'll probably start off the bench, Eisenhuth, who starts off the bench, and a few other options there as well. So there are some decisions that they need to make, and obviously Molo's availability will determine a lot of what they do there. But they've got probably half a dozen options for 2 or 3 positions.
Yep. And in the number 9, Damien Cook.
Yeah, another experienced player coming across. He bumps Little out of the role with his experience and leadership. Little played a key role last year. He certainly still will again off the bench, and I think even move into that role perhaps later in the year if they move Cook around. But yeah, Damien Cook coming across with Gutherson to give them plenty of experience.
Yep. And lastly, in the second row, so Jaden Sewer and Leilua.
Yeah, I don't think there's too many challenges for these guys who are an Origin representative. Leilua, their homecoming hero. I don't think either of them will face many challenges for that role, barring injury.
All right, and rounding out the 17 with the interchange, we have Jacob Little, Toby Couchman, Tom Eisenhuth, and Raymond Faitala Mariner.
Yeah, Little, as we spoke about before, is a definite role for him in the side, partnering and supporting Cook. Couchman gives them, those opportunities as improving forwards, as does Faitala Mariner. I think those two players are long-term options that will get some exposure. Eisenhuth, one of the better buys last year. He has the ability to play in the centres. His role coming off the bench will more likely be sort of middle and second row, I would think. But a bit of versatility there and some players that would be more than comfortable at the highest level.
All right, well, that's our best 17 for the Dragons. There's still some good-looking players there that have missed out. So Couchman, Agula, Fafita, among others. Yeah,
Larry as well. There's plenty of depth. I think guys that will see a bit of action sort of coming off the bench and rolling through. So, yeah, of a lot of the sides we reviewed, I think they've got a bit more depth than some. And, as much as those predictions are wildly fluctuating, I think they're more likely to be competitive than ordinary for mine.
Yeah. They're an interesting team and list, the Dragons, at the moment. So that is our best 17. Jump in the comments. Let us know what you think of our best 17. We love having a discussion about these sort of things in the comment section. It's always a good time. Subscribe to the YouTube channel if you haven't already. We have plenty of NRL content coming out this year. It's going to be a big year for the Zero Tackle YouTube channel. And catch all the latest NRL news at zerotackle.com. And thank you for watching.